Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all good. So this video is brought to you in association with my good friends at TwoNotes Audio Engineering, who, as some of you may know, who followed me for a while, I use their gear and I've used it for years in both a live and studio application. They're responsible for making, in my opinion, some of the best cab simulation and load box products on the market. I think they're fantastic and super flexible and innovative. So yeah, as you've probably seen many a time, I use the Torpedo Studio here, and when I'm playing live I have the Torpedo Live racks that I use that have a load box element to them. You plug your amp in and then it gives you virtual cab and miking options, so you can really dial in the tone of a cab mic'd up, and I think it's incredible. So today we're looking at a brand new product called the Cab M, which is an updated version of their cab pedal that you may have seen years ago, which basically it's a small pedal platform version of their Torpedo cab and miking emulations. So just to say now, it's not a load box, it's just the virtual cab and miking and all that side of their Torpedo line. So you will need to run this through into a cab or a load box if you want to use it. Having said that, you could also plug a preamp in and just use the onboard power amp emulations and cab miking and all that kind of stuff. So it's super flexible. I've got a little list because there's a lot of features crammed into this little thing. So inside the Cab M you've got 32 cab emulations, you've got 8 power amp emulations, things like EL34s, 6L6, EL84s, that kind of thing. We've got 8 different mic impulses, so things like 57s, 121s, 421s, all the same stuff that you get on like the studio and the live and things like that. Built-in EQ and reverb. It's 32 bits, 96 kilohertz audio, and it's got a USB out, so you can plug this straight into your computer, manage all your presets with the Torpedo remote. I'll put a little screen grab up so you can see what that looks like, and I generally use that if I'm managing my presets, dialing in things, and I'm sat at home in the studio on my desktop. It's a lot easier for me having a nice big app like that. So the Cab M, basically, it's absolutely awesome. I'm actually considering using this in place of my Torpedo Lives because I don't need the load box element of the live because I use cabs in a live application. So I could just plug the Cab M in between my head and cab, take the DI out and use that for my in-ears, and it would do the same job. So in terms of the physical unit, we'll go from left to right on the ins and outs and all that kind of stuff. You've got headphone in, so you can monitor with your in-ears or headphones. Aux in, so you can plug a track in and jam along if you want to use this on the road or just to jam with at home. Then you've got an XLR DI out with a ground lift, which is super useful if you've got dirty power. I'm running this XLR out into my Apollo. Then you've got a line out, jack line out, which is also very handy to have on the side there. Obviously there's power in on the right hand side. Then you've got USB out into the computer. And then you've got your power, your amplifier in, and then your cab out. So the way I've hooked this up is I've got my Victory VX Kraken 100 going into the Cab M and then going out of that into a load box, so that we can hear the sound of the amplifier running into the cab emulations of the Cab M. But then I'll also plug in like a pedal preamp as well, so we can hear the power amp emulations later in the video. We've also got a super clear backlit LED screen that when you're not using it, it actually dims, which I quite like actually. I think that's a cool little feature. And then we've got 2 rotary knobs that you can push down on top. So the left rotary knob controls the menu and the parameter, and then the right rotary knob controls the value, and then when you push that in, it implements the change. So it's a very easy to navigate piece of kit. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the power of the cabinet and miking emulation whilst I play, and we can have a little fiddle around to see what kind of sounds we can get. Any reverb you'll be hearing will be coming from the Cab M itself, and also I'm capturing this with my Universal Audio Apollo X8P interface. So let's check it out. Okay, I'll just give you a really quick demonstration of how it sounds before we start getting into the nitty-gritties, because I think it sounds fantastic. This is my preset I've made. This is a AC30 speaker simulation with a ribbon and a 57 that I've sort of dialed in, so have a listen to this. Yeah, it sounds good. That's literally the cab M straight in. I think it sounds fantastic. So let's jump into the menus and I'll show you how you can manipulate the sound. Okay, so as you can see, this is the main screen. This is my preset number 1, and I've called it Tone 1. You can name it whatever you want. So if I press the left knob down, it takes us into the menu screen, and then you use the left knob to go through all the different parameters, and then if you hit enter, it will go into that menu, and then you can change the values of such. So let's start. At the minute, power amp's off because we're not using an emulation just yet. Once I plug the pedal preamp in, we'll get to hear that. So let's move over to miking. But before we do that, I'll show you, you've also got EQ, reverb, overall volume level of the preset. You can save it, and then you got your globals. So let's go back to cab. Now hit the right knob, enter. So we're using the virtual cabinet voice 30. So if I give you a... We can scroll along, hear different ones. So that's a rev cab. They've actually updated the cabs since I've been using it. So now we've got rev cabs in there, which is sick. Anyway, voice 30 is the one I like. So let's move over to the next screen. Now you can see the different mics, and something I just want to point out is that it's amazing you can now blend both mic impulses, because back in the day on the Torpedo Live you used to only have one to choose from, but now you have two, and that's sick because it just gives you more flexibility of your sound. So I've currently set up a Ribbon 121 and a 57. As you'd probably expect, there's a great combination that I swear by and use a lot. If we move to the next screen, we can control the level of each microphone. So you can also mute and flip the phase of each one should you need to, but I doubt you probably need to flip the phase. But it's good to be able to mute them both and control the individual levels. So let's just mute the 57 first. So we're just hearing the ribbon now. So if I go back to the screen before, I can show you the sound of the individual mic. So let's try the 160. Bit more bite to it. This is a 421. It's worth saying that in isolation, sometimes these can sound a little bit harsh, but the idea is you can blend them or stack the sounds, and that's generally what you would do in a recording environment. 57. And then we move into bass microphones, because also you can do bass cabs with this bad boy. Anyway, let's go back to, there's a U87 model that I want to show you quick. That's more full-bodied, full range of sound. You know, it's picking up lows and highs. And then one of my personal favorites, the Nightfall. Which sounds really good. Anyway, let's go back to my current settings. So now let's unmute. In fact, we'll keep the 57 muted for now so I can show you the next screen. So basically the parameter knob is scrolling through each different thing. So at the minute that's level, then we've got mute, flip phase, and then it jumps to the next mic. Same again, level, mute, flip phase. And if we scroll to the next screen, we now have my personal favorite part of the entire TwoNotes thing, which is the virtual miking. So we've got A-axis, which is the up and down. So at the minute is at 50%. So the higher the percentage, the further away from the center of the cone it goes. So So it's really a personal taste preference here, and I had it at 50% because I wanted more warmth and low end from the ribbon. And then if we scroll with the parameter, it moves to distance. So the further away, the more sort of hollow and MIDI it will get. So this is right up against it. And I want the scooped kind of warmer, fatter sound from my ribbon, so I keep it right up against it. But depending on what kind of tonage you're going for, you'd move that further away. And then we scroll again. That allows you to it's a new kind of feature. You can mic it from the front or the back. You could do that before, but having it in this layout is quite neat. So sometimes you might want to mic the back of a cab depending on the sort of tone you were going for. It has been done before. And then the same again for the distance of B. So let me just unmute the 57 and mute the ribbon so you can hear the difference. So much more bite going on with my 57, and I've actually got the level a bit lower because you know it's sometimes a bit too much when you're stacking them. You might want to just find a nice blend for you. So anyway, we've got the distance of the 57 from the center a little bit out because I don't want it to be too brittle, but then also I've moved the distance away from the speaker itself to 20% because I wanted a little bit more mids. And so that's the sound of the 57. If I go back to the next screen and unmute the ribbon, now you can hear both. Mindless shred. Okay, so let's move to the next screen after we've got all this going on. This is EQ. I've currently got it on. I'll switch it off to show you the difference. It's very subtle because I didn't want loads of change, but now if you move to the next screen, you can move between different EQ parameters like guitar mode and bass mode, depending on what it is you're trying to do. And custom, but I've got it on guitar mode. So let's move across. So I took a bit of flub out of 120. And then you've got 360 hertz, which is a bit of low mid thump. Then you've got 800 hertz, which is your mid range. And then 2 kilohertz, which is your kind of more honky, brittle sort of mid range. And then if we move across, you've got 6K, which if you need to brighten things up, get a bit more bite out of it, you'd boost that. So yeah, very useful. It's a very, very nice feature. And then reverb. And we've got different types of reverb. So I'm using Hall B. We've got, let's move across. So we've got Studio A, Studio B. So let me just boost the sound of them so you can have a listen. Very subtle. That's actually very good, the quality of that. Anyway, let's try B. Bit more decay. Sounds very roomy, like the cab's really in the room. Very cool. Basement. Way more intense. Loft. Which would probably, this is obviously very exaggerated to show you the sound. Hall A. Hall B. And then Crypt, which is like a dark plate. Sounds really nice. Cathedral. And then that's all the different ones. So let's go back to what I had. I actually can't remember. I think it was Hall B. Let me just drop that back down. Yep, sounds great. And then the preset level, and that's it. And basically that's the menu system and how you dial in your tone. And then when you found what you want, you'd scroll across all the way to the end. You'd hit save, hit down once, choose your name. We'll call it tone 1. You hit it again and then enter, and now it saves it. And that's literally how you do it. So hopefully you can see from my quick skim through everything, the quality of the sound and how easy it is to use. Really, really impressive. But I'm not surprised because I love the TwoNotes products and I've used them all the time. So I really, really enjoy them. But I do like the format, the layout and the size of this Cab M. And actually the menu system on something so small is very concise and well done. So hats off to the design team there for that. So what I want to do now is plug in a pedal preamp and show you the power amp emulation. So if you don't use an amplifier with this and it's more of a small bite-sized travel rig, you could use this with any sort of pedal preamp. So we'll do that now. Okay, cool. So now I'm using a pedal preamp. In this case, I've got the Victory V4 Series Countess preamp. And you hook it up the same way you do with the amp. So the input serves as both the amp from the amp out of the amp into the Cab M, but also preamp out into the Cab M. It's the same input. So it's really straightforward, easy to use. And this is basically to demonstrate the power amp emulation. So let me grab a guitar, use the old Leslie. And let me show you what it sounds like. So this is without it on. Now if I go ahead and turn the pedal preamp on, this is with the power amp emulation 6L6. I think that sounds really good. That's using the 6L6 emulation, but let's jump over to the close-up and I'll show you the different power amp emulations. Okay, so we're back to our main screen. You hit menu and we'll go into power amp, hit the right knob, and now it moves into our power amp mode, so which model we're on. So we're currently running 6L6. It's pretty accurate, to be honest. If I scroll to the right, we'll try L34. I mean, that's ridiculous because it just adds more mid-range as you'd expect. It's a bit barkier. Let's keep going. EL84. Oh, it's great. Okay, KT88. It's also worth saying that if we go back, when we get to 6L6, if we go back to the left, we run into single-ended mode, which if you don't know what that is, it's where you use one of the two power amp tubes. So this is the difference. Here's 6L6, and then 6L6 in single-ended. Basically, it gives you a little less low end. It depends on what you're running, to be honest, but I actually quite like EL34, so let's move to the next section of parameters. Okay, we move across. We've got a difference between pentode and triode, which is way too bright for me, but it's nice to have it. And now you've got volume and then depth. So the reason I think that's a phenomenal feature is because obviously power amps add a lot of punch and girth. So it's nice that they've simulated that. But also, if you're running headphones into the side and it's sounding a bit brittle and thin, you can just boost the depth and really get a fat tone in your headphones. So that's awesome. And then presence, of course. So And then we move on to miking. So that's basically how we run our power amp simulation. And just to say that I just think it's great. And also, if I take it off, just to give you an example, you lose quite a bit of body and volume. Because we're still running into a cab, so it does sound good. You lose that kind of body and punch and guts that you get from a power amp. So yeah, really impressive. So there we go, there's a look at the TwoNotes Cab M. For me personally, this is really handy. Now, the reason for me is that I could use these in replacement for my Torpedo Lives, because I run cabs live. But with this, it means I can just plug these two in between the head and cab, run the XLR out into the X32 for my in-ears, and then I save rack space, weight, all that kind of stuff. It's you know, it does all the same stuff. You know, it sounds as good. You know, I can even use the miking and the built-in cabs, or I can load my own IRs onto it. So that's really handy. And also, it's light, it's small, it's compact, it's a small footprint, so can't really argue with that. The price of these is £269, and you can get these from all your major retailers, including Anderton's. I'll put a link in the description box below. But yeah, I honestly, I mean, TwoNotes never fail to impress me with their ingenuity and their innovation when it comes to this type of product. And like I said, I use these products, you know, at home. Every time you see a demo that I do at home, if it's not a Kemper or like the Helix or something, it's always going to be a load box. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be my TwoNotes Torpedo Studio, because I just know it inside out, and it delivers a sound that I'm used to, especially when I use my own IRs, and I just get working with that. I love the UA aux box as well, and that works for different things. There's pros and cons to both, but to be perfectly honest with you, something like this, so compact, so easy to use, yeah, can't really complain, and it's a fair price as well. So I'm definitely going to be looking into getting a couple of these for my in-ears rig, because I can just sit it on top of the amp head straight into the X32 and I'm good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you thought it sounded great. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you to TwoNotes for sending this product over for me to review. Links in the description box. Like, subscribe and share, and I will see you all very soon.